Hi everyone and welcome back to the George Collection. I'm Rachel Rightside Blonde. Today I wanted to take a look back at the Survival Guide to the Future, in particular the Platform 2020 section, and in even more specifics, the warfare section. Let's listen to this. This is very interesting. Warfare. Really Smart Weapons by Holly Yeager. This is a warfare back from '97. Now, techies designing the weapons of tomorrow are looking for ways to wage war while keeping our troops out of harm's way. The buzz in the air is what the Pentagon calls unmanned aerial vehicles. Using radar and sensors to scan the earth below, these drones, now limited to spy missions, can loiter over an area for hours, an assignment too risky for human pilots. Bombing runs, sans pilots, could be 20 years away. Trekkers, take note. Airborne lasers to jumble enemy electronics are only a decade away. Inspired by Ronald Reagan's Star Wars dream, the Pentagon is also at work on a handful of schemes to blast incoming missiles out of the sky. An interceptor fired from an airplane could be ready by 2005. Over in the Navy's yard, the pet project is the Arsenal ship, a floating fortress. Commanders miles away could launch the ship's 500 missiles deep into enemy territory. With a crew of just 50, this futuristic dreadnought will be far cheaper than conventional fighting vessels. The demo model could be in the water by 2000. The Army thinks its silver bullet may be a digitized battlefield. The plan is to wire all the good guys with communications and mapping devices that would give them the location of friend and foe alike. That was then. This is what she wrote for 2020. One thing is certain about war in the future. It will take place on new battlefields. One of them most surely will be outer space, warns Andrew Krapinovich Jr., who, as director of the Center for Strategic and Budgetary Assessments in Washington, D.C., maps out detailed scenarios of potential future wars. A nuclear Iran closes off the Strait of Hormuz in 2016. Whom America will be fighting is harder to predict. Maybe another superpower such as China. Or the U.S. might weigh in on civil wars and regional disputes in, for example, the Middle East or between the Koreas. North Korea is developing a ballistic missile that has a range of 2,170 miles and could threaten Alaska and Hawaii within a decade. Whatever the case may be, sensors in space, on planes, and on the ground will deliver a crystalline view of any conflict. And the details will be fed to more precise versions of the Gulf War's smart weapons. Long-range missiles and armed drones will handle many of the tasks of today's tanks and fighter planes, so Uncle Sam may need fewer good men and women. But smaller ground forces may still be needed to lay claim to cities, and in particular strategic sites such as skyscrapers and tunnels. Rogue warriors will become more dangerous, armed with chemical and biological weapons, ballistic missile systems, cheap satellite imaging, and pinpoint navigation systems. They could also be dangerous in cyberspace, where an attack on computer systems could disrupt the nation and disable the military, a sort of real-life version of the movie War Games. So keep in mind, this is the same article that talked about the lung-attacking virus, and now we have the military warfare section talking about drones and the future of warfare and how it won't look like days of old. Very interesting stuff, and I think George called it again back in Platform 2020 in February of 1997. Just very interesting coincidences of what's going on and what was called back in 1997. That does it for this episode of the George Collection. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.
Of this extraordinary magazine, George, which is a hoot of a magazine. I thought you were a lawyer.
I was.
What happened?
Well, we decided, actually taking a cue from folks like yourself and you around the 1992 election, that there was an opportunity here to change the definition of a political magazine. Certainly the way Americans were accessing information about politics and politicians was changing. Candidates were appearing on late night talk shows, on talk radio, on sitcoms, and there was a kind of a leveling process, and while the rest of media clearly had caught up with that, we felt that political magazines per se hadn't.
Your mother was a hell of an editor at Doubleday.
That's what I hear.
Would she have liked George?
I think she would have.